Welcome back to Part 5C of the Style Creator for Beginners series. In this video and the next, I'll be going over the NTR and NTT options from within the SFF Edit tab. There's a lot to take on board, so I've split this section up into two videos. When you press on the NTR/NTT button, you are faced with three different NTR options. You have root trans, root fixed, and guitar. In this video, I'll be looking at the NTR guitar option. NTR stands for Note Transposition Rule and NTT stands for Note Transposition Table. It all sounds very confusing. The Genos reference manual doesn't really have any useful information on how NTR guitar works, and unfortunately, Style Creator isn't something that's heavily supported by Yamaha tech support. Before this video, I knew nothing at all about NTR guitar, but after spending a whole day just pressing all the keys in every possible combination and comparing the results against my real guitar, I feel I now know enough to put together a short video. Just please bear in mind that I can't guarantee how accurate the information is, as I've had no reference material to research first, but I'm really happy with the results I've been producing, and that's got to account for something. NTR Guitar is one of three NTR options available to us from within the NTR/NTT section. With the help of this section, we can create a realistic strumming pattern on the Genos using the stroke option, and we can create a 4-note arpeggio using the arpeggio option. There is an all-purpose option which I assume is for strumming or arpeggios or a combination of both, though I've tended not to record combinations to just one channel. Step Edit can sometimes be overwhelmed with data, making it harder for me to understand what's going on. A couple of important things before we start. In previous videos, I've mentioned about the importance of setting the source root and source chord before recording anything. With NTR Guitar, this rule doesn't apply. Secondly, NTR Guitar is designed for guitars, so before recording, make sure to select the guitar you want to use. Selecting a different instrument could result in recording a set of notes that won't be in a playable range if you then select a guitar afterwards, or at least without some editing first. Thirdly, this section is designed to sound and play like a real guitar. Knowing how to play a real guitar is a huge advantage when using NTR Guitar. It's not vital, but it really does help, and you'll see why throughout this video. So, recording notes when using NTR Guitar is different to how we're used to recording notes on the channels. For instance, normally if we want to record a specific melody, we can do so by pressing the relevant keys that match the different pitch required. If we look at a standard tuning, right-handed guitar, we can see that there are 6 strings, E, A, D, G, B, and a high E. NTR Guitar allows us to play these 6 strings on the keyboard, but not using the keys you'd expect. To play the 6 strings, we have to use the keys D, E, F, G, A, and B. Genos key D plays the low E string, E plays the A string, F plays the D string, G plays the G string, A plays the B string, and B plays the high E string. Now, a few things to note. Although by default these are keys D3 to B3, when I record this guitar, it records the notes D2 to B2. That's because this guitar voice is set up to play at 1 octave lower. You can actually record the notes at a higher octave, which has the effect of playing the notes of the guitar as if they were being played further up the guitar neck. Alternatively, you can edit the notes in Step Edit, choosing the octave you prefer, but do note that depending on the chord and the neck position, some chords will play all 6 strings and some will play less, and they might not always play consecutively. This is handy to know if you're trying to single out individual strings as part of your recording. Also, it's worth double-checking to see what your octave setting is, because this will also affect your note values when recording. Having some idea of how a guitar plays does help, but so does experimenting. Anyway, let's record the keys D to B into Style Creator. I'll make sure to select the guitar first to ensure the correct notes and octave range are recorded. When I press playback, you can hear all the notes I played as they sounded when I recorded them. Now, in SFF Edit, select Guitar Stroke from within the NTR section. You won't hear the effect of NTR Guitar kicking in until I change the channel from red to green, or I come out of Style Creator. Now it sounds different and you may think it sounds wrong, but what it's actually doing now is playing the sound back as if it was the chord on the guitar. You can hear that there's only 5 notes playing back in the pattern. That's because playback is set at C major 7, so it's playing a C major 7 chord in a position in which if I play it on the guitar, you can hear there's just 5 strings in this chord to play. If I come out of Style Creator and play an E chord, now you can hear all 6 strings playing. So basically, to record guitar, you press the key or keys which represent the relevant strings you want to play, and then when you select the various chords in accompaniment, the keyboard works its magic, converting everything as if you're playing the guitar. So let's create a quick strum of the guitar. As before, I'll record the same notes, but this time I'll press all the keys at the same time to simulate a strum of all the strings and quantize them. When played back, this is how it sounds. Not too bad, but we can do better. Whenever you strum the guitar, you're never hitting all of the strings at the same time. For instance, if I strum like this, I'm hitting the low E string before the A, and there's a slight delay as I move across the strings. If I go into Step Edit, I can change the timing ever so slightly to create that effect. Sometimes it's just a case of experimenting and seeing what suits best and making notes for future reference. Just make sure to put the string notes in the correct order. A very subtle difference, but one for the better. So we now know that D, E, F, G, A and B represent the 6 strings of a guitar. There are 2 other keys that play an important part in our guitar creation too, and that's the C and C sharp key. The C key allows us to add the root note to a chord we're playing. This is really handy on certain chords where you might want to emphasize the root of the chord you're playing. It doesn't matter whereabouts you play this C key, the pitch remains the same. The C sharp key allows us to add the 5th, and depending on whether or not you're playing a major, minor, diminished or augmented chord, etc., this 5th will change accordingly. The C sharp 5th pitch can be altered by playing the key at different octaves on the keyboard. So, let's record a strumming pattern using both the root key and the 5th. Because certain chord structures don't allow for all 6 strings to play, you can avoid some inconsistencies in playback by just using the root and 5th along with just the last 4 strings, which would be F, G, A and B on the keyboard. It can sometimes be hard to know what you're recording because of the way it's set up, as you can't actually hear what you're recording until you play it all back. So it's more about recording with feeling and fine-tuning afterwards. It's probably also worth noting at this point that although we've programmed the strum to give us this back and forth effect utilizing the 5th, we can remove this 5th from the strum to give us a basic strum. And by selecting NTT bass on, we then have the option to play a slash chord and add a bass note as and when we see fit. So, with all this strumming information to hand, what can we do with this? Well, it's now pretty simple to create a usable strumming pattern of our own design just by following everything we've done so far. Here's just a really quick example. And just like that, we've got our own style. If I spent more time on it, I'd probably fine-tune the strumming, add a few effects, like body taps and changes in velocity, and give the style a better overall balance. But for just a few minutes work, it doesn't sound too bad. NTR Guitar gives us a real fighting chance to create some great strumming patterns, but what if you just want to create a guitar arpeggio? As well as stroke or strum, NTR Guitar also gives us the option to create arpeggios. According to the reference manual, we can only create 4-note arpeggios using the D, G, B, and high E string equivalent keys. This sort of makes sense when you look at how the chords on a guitar are structured. That being said, you can still play the C root note and the C sharp fifth, which helps to expand possibilities. We record pretty much in the same way as before, but this time we play individual keys to create our pattern, and instead of selecting stroke, we select arpeggio. There is the all-purpose option, which seems to allow both strumming and arpeggios, even both at the same time, but I'm not sure how this option differs from the other two when recording or transposing chords, so I've tended to just stick to using the arpeggio setting for arpeggios and stroke setting for strumming. So that's the NTR Guitar option. Lots of fun to be had from creating within this section. As I've already mentioned, I haven't been able to read up on any literature and wasn't able to access any Yamaha support, so maybe take everything here with a pinch of salt, just in case any information is inaccurate. The best advice I can give is to open up Style Creator and experiment. It may seem stressful at first, but as you start to get used to how things work, it becomes a lot more fun.